I adjusted my simple navy blazer, deliberately chosen to look unremarkable, as I walked into my parents' expansive mansion for our monthly family dinner. The same routine I'd endured for years, listening to my siblings brag about their corporate success while they treated me like the family failure. Olivia, darling. My mother's voice carried that familiar note of barely concealed disappointment as she air-kissed my cheek. We were just discussing William's latest acquisition, $40 million. Isn't that wonderful? My older brother William sat at the head of the table, Dad's old spot, radiating self-importance in his tailored suit. Actually, Mother, it was $45 million. Harrison Industries didn't stand a chance once we started our hostile takeover. I took my usual seat at the far end of the table, the spot reserved for those who hadn't made it in the family hierarchy. If they only knew that I'd been the one who'd orchestrated Harrison Industries' vulnerability, making it perfect for William's takeover. Not that he'd ever figure that out. And how's your little consulting business going? My sister Catherine asked, her voice dripping with false sympathy. Still working out of that tiny office downtown? I smiled, thinking of my real office, the entire top floor of the city's most prestigious building, where I ran Summit Ventures, one of the most powerful investment firms in the country. But here, I was just Olivia, the youngest Parker sibling who'd never lived up to the family name. Oh, making ends meet, I replied mildly, taking a sip of wine. Small clients, nothing too exciting. William laughed, an arrogant sound I'd grown to despise. You should really let me help you, Liv. Parker Enterprises always needs administrators. We could find you something suitable. I thought about the folder sitting in my briefcase, the one that would turn their world upside down tomorrow morning. After 5 years of careful planning, everything was finally in place. That's so kind of you, William, I said, keeping my voice carefully neutral. But I'm comfortable where I am. My mother sighed dramatically. Olivia, you had such potential. Top of your class at Harvard Business School, and now what? A tiny consulting practice while your siblings run real companies. I remembered the day I graduated, full of dreams about joining the family business. But William and Catherine had other plans. They convinced our father that I was too soft for the corporate world, too focused on ethics and sustainability rather than pure profit. We need to protect the company's interests, William had said. Olivia's ideas about corporate responsibility would bankrupt us. So they pushed me out, given me a small settlement to start my own thing, and expected me to fade into obscurity. Instead, I built something they couldn't begin to imagine. Speaking of real companies, Catherine smirked, adjusting her diamond bracelet. Parker Enterprises' board meeting tomorrow is going to be historic. We're voting on the merger with Global Tech. It'll make us the largest technology conglomerate in the country. William nodded smugly. The shareholders won't know what hit them. Once we control Global Tech's patents, we'll dominate the market. I hid my smile behind my wine glass. They had no idea that Global Tech was one of my shell companies created specifically for this moment. Tomorrow's board meeting would indeed be historic, but not for the reasons they thought. That sounds wonderful, I said. I'm sure it will be quite revealing. After dinner, I escaped to the garden for some air. The estate's perfectly manicured lawns stretched out before me, a testament to the Parker family's wealth and status. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus, my CFO at Summit Ventures. Everything's set for tomorrow. All shares transferred. Legal team standing by. I texted back a quick confirmation, then turned to find my mother watching me from the terrace. A client? She asked, trying to sound interested while clearly expecting nothing significant. Something like that, I replied. Actually, Mother, I've been meaning to ask. What do you know about Summit Ventures? She frowned slightly. That new investment firm. William mentioned them at the country club. Very secretive, apparently. Nobody knows who runs it. Why? Just curious. They seem to be making waves in the industry. Well, yes, she sniffed. New money, probably, not like the established firms. Though I hear they've been buying up a lot of technology stocks lately. If she only knew those technology stocks were primarily Parker Enterprises shares, purchased slowly and carefully through various subsidiaries over the past 5 years. Tomorrow, Summit Ventures would reveal its true ownership of 51% of Parker Enterprises' voting shares. How interesting, I said blandly. Well, I should go. Early meeting tomorrow. My mother's face fell. Oh, Olivia, not another of your little client meetings. It's not too late to join the family business. William might be tough, but he's always said there's a place for you. I hugged her, allowing myself one moment of genuine emotion. Despite everything, she was still my mother. I know, Mom, but trust me, I'm exactly where I need to be. Driving home to my penthouse apartment, the one my family didn't know existed, I thought about the journey that had brought me here. 5 years of careful planning, of maintaining the facade of the struggling consultant while building an empire in secret. Summit Ventures hadn't just bought Parker Enterprises shares. We'd systematically acquired controlling interests in key suppliers, technology partners, and distribution channels. Tomorrow, when William and Catherine realized who really controlled their precious family company, everything would change. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Catherine. Don't forget to watch the business news tomorrow, Liv. Your big brother's going to make history. I smiled, thinking of the press release already scheduled to go out at 9 a.m. sharp. I wouldn't miss it for the world, I texted back. Tomorrow, the Parker family would learn that their greatest achievement had been orchestrated by the sister they'd underestimated, the daughter they'd dismissed, the Harvard graduate they thought was too soft for business. I walked into my home office, where a wall of monitors displayed real-time data from Summit Ventures' global operations. Revenue streams, market analyses, stock prices, all flowing through the empire I'd built while they thought I was working out of a tiny downtown office. Opening my safe, I pulled out one final document, a letter my father had written before he died, the one William and Catherine had kept from me. In it, Dad expressed his regret at letting them push me out, acknowledging that my vision for ethical business practices might have been exactly what Parker Enterprises needed. I hope someday you'll find a way to prove them wrong, he'd written. Well, Dad, I thought, setting the letter aside, tomorrow's board meeting should do exactly that. I poured myself a glass of the same champagne William had bragged about serving at tomorrow's merger celebration. In less than 12 hours, the perfect image of Parker Enterprises would shatter, and a sister they'd underestimated would emerge as the most powerful person in the room. Sometimes the best revenge isn't quick or flashy. Sometimes it's built slowly, carefully, one share at a time, until the moment is perfect to reveal who you really are. And tomorrow would be perfect. The morning of the board meeting, I dressed with careful consideration. A perfectly tailored Channel suit in charcoal gray, Louboutin heels, and my grandmother's vintage Cartier watch. No more shabby blazers or scuffed shoes. Today, I would finally look the part of who I really was. Marcus, my CFO, met me in the private elevator of Summit Ventures headquarters. Everything's ready, he said, handing me a sleek leather portfolio. Legal team is in position. Press release goes out in 20 minutes, and we've got confirmation that all board members are present at Parker Enterprises. I checked my watch, 8:45 a.m. In 15 minutes, William would be calling the board meeting to order, probably already practicing his victory speech about the global tech merger. Any last-minute concerns? Marcus asked as we descended to the waiting car. I smiled, thinking of all the times my family had gathered around their dining table, treating me like an afterthought. None at all. The drive to Parker Enterprises took exactly 12 minutes. As we pulled up to the gleaming headquarters my grandfather had built, I saw news vans already gathering. They thought they were here for a simple merger announcement. They had no idea what was really about to happen. Inside, security didn't even bother checking my ID. To them, I was just William and Catherine's insignificant sister, probably there to watch from the visitors' gallery. If they'd bothered to look closer, they might have noticed that my visitor's badge had been replaced by something else. An executive access card that would open every door in the building. The boardroom was exactly as I remembered it from childhood visits with my father. 24 stories up, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city he'd helped build. The massive mahogany table could seat 30, though today only 18 chairs were occupied, board members, executive team, and of course my dear siblings. William stood at the head of the table, looking every inch the CEO in his three-piece suit. Catherine sat to his right, tapping away at her tablet. Neither of them glanced up as I slipped into the gallery seating along the wall. Ladies and gentlemen, William began precisely at 9 a.m. Thank you for joining us for this historic day. The merger with Global Tech represents. He was cut off by a sudden commotion at the door. My legal team entered, led by Sarah Chin, the most ruthless corporate attorney in the city. Behind them came Marcus and two other Summit Ventures executives. "What is the meaning of this?" William demanded, his face flushing. "This is a closed board meeting." Sarah smiled, her heels clicking against the marble floor as she approached the table. "Actually, Mr. Parker, this meeting has been called by Summit Ventures, majority shareholder of Parker Enterprises." The room erupted in confused murmurs. Catherine stood up, her perfectly manicured hands gripping the table. "That's impossible. Parker Enterprises is a family-controlled company. We own the majority shares." "Not anymore," I said quietly, standing up from my spot in the gallery. Every head turned. William's face went from red to white in an instant. "Olivia, what are you doing?" I walked to the table, each step measured and deliberate. Marcus handed me a stack of documents, which I began distributing to each board member. "Over the past 5 years," I explained, my voice carrying easily in the stunned silence, "Summit Ventures has systematically acquired controlling interest in Parker Enterprises through various subsidiaries and holding companies. As of last week, we own 51% of all voting shares." Catherine laughed, but it sounded hollow. "Summit Ventures? That's ridiculous. Everyone knows it's run by." Her voice trailed off as realization dawned. "By me," I finished for her. "I'm the founder and CEO of Summit Ventures. That little consulting office downtown, just a front. While you were busy mocking my struggling business, I was building something much bigger." William snatched up the documents, his hands shaking as he flipped through the pages. "This can't be legal. Father left control of the company to me." "Everything is perfectly legal," Sarah interjected smoothly. "Ms. Parker's acquisition of shares was done through proper channels. The documentation is irrefutable." I took my father's old seat at the head of the table, gesturing for William to step aside. He remained frozen in place, staring at me like he'd never seen me before. "You'll find," I continued, "that Summit Ventures now controls not only Parker Enterprises, but also 7 of its major subsidiaries, 15% of its supply chain, and," I paused for effect, "global tech." Catherine's tablet clattered to the floor. "Global tech. But the merger was never going to happen." I finished. "Global Tech has been a Summit Ventures company for the past 2 years. We've been waiting for the right moment to reveal that fact." The board members were now poring over the documents, their expressions ranging from shocked to grudging admiration. These were business people after all. They understood the magnitude of what I'd accomplished. "As of this moment," I announced, "I am assuming the position of CEO of Parker Enterprises. William and Catherine will be transitioned to advisory roles, pending review of their division's performance." "You can't do this," William breathed, still standing beside me. "We're family." I turned to look at him, remembering all the times he dismissed my ideas, belittled my achievements, treated me like a charity case. "Yes, we are family," I agreed. "Which is why you'll both retain your board seats and reasonable compensation packages." "I'm not like you, William. I don't believe in completely destroying people who stand in my way." Just then, every phone in the room began buzzing simultaneously. The press release had gone out. Summit Ventures was revealing its true ownership and leadership, along with its controlling stake in Parker Enterprises. Catherine was the first to find her voice again. "All those times we invited you to dinner, mocked your small business, you were already running a multi-billion-dollar investment firm?" I smiled. "Yes, it's amazing what you can accomplish when people underestimate you. They never see you coming." The next few hours passed in a blur of legal documents, press statements, and restructuring announcements. By lunch, Parker Enterprises stock had soared on the news that the mysterious Summit Ventures was taking control. The market, it seemed, had more faith in my leadership than my siblings ever had. My mother arrived just as the board meeting was ending, her face pale with shock. "Olivia? I just saw the news. Summit Ventures, all this time." I stood up, straightening papers on what was now my desk. "Remember when you said I had potential, Mother? You were right. I just needed space to prove it my own way." She stepped forward, tears in her eyes. "Your father, he would be so proud." "I know," I said softly, touching a letter in my jacket pocket. "He told me so." That evening, I stood at the window of my office, my father's old office, watching the city lights come alive. On my desk sat a frame containing my first business card, the one from my tiny consulting practice. I kept it as a reminder that sometimes the greatest achievements grow from the smallest beginnings. My phone buzzed with a text from Catherine. Can we talk? Over dinner, maybe. I thought about all the family dinners where I'd sat quietly, playing the role they expected. Never again. My office tomorrow at 9, I texted back. We have a lot to discuss about the future of Parker Enterprises. Looking out over the city, I smiled, thinking of my father's words in his final letter. The business world isn't just about power, Olivia. It's about proving that success can come in many forms. He was right. Sometimes success means letting people think you're small while you build something enormous. Sometimes it means staying quiet until the perfect moment to reveal your true strength. And sometimes it means showing your family that the sister they underestimated had become more powerful than they could have imagined. As night fell over the city, I finally allowed myself to feel the full weight of what I'd accomplished. I'd taken control not just of Parker Enterprises, but of my own destiny. And I'd done it my way, methodically, ethically, and with a plan that no one saw coming until it was too late. Tomorrow the real work would begin. Parker Enterprises needed restructuring, new leadership, a return to the ethical principles my father had originally envisioned. But for tonight, I savored the quiet satisfaction of knowing that I had finally proven what I was capable of. The struggling consultant was gone. In her place stood the most powerful CEO in the city. And this was just the beginning.